Hey guys, tonight we're going to step into your morning just as the alarm clock screeches its betrayal. You groan, squinting at the light that feels way too judgmental for this hour. You shuffle out of bed, still wearing half a dream and maybe your left sock from yesterday. As your feet touch the cold floor and you blindly reach for your phone, you don't realize it yet, but this is where your English journey begins. Because language isn't just learned in classrooms, it seeps into the small moments, like when you scroll through a motivational quote that somehow uses there, and they're all in the same sentence. You wince. That's not right, you mumble, and congratulations, you've just reviewed homophones before brushing your teeth. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, drop a comment with your city and local time. Yeah, I love seeing how far this sleepy English train travels. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You shuffle into the bathroom, stare at yourself in the mirror, and say, "I need coffee." Not in your native language. In English. That phrase has somehow embedded itself into your mental codebase. You didn't even plan it just appeared. Welcome to passive language acquisition, the brain's sneaky trick of picking up phrases like lint. And it's not new, either. Even back in Roman times, young scribes learned Latin not from formal instruction but from eavesdropping on their parents arguing over olive prices. Historians still argue whether this passive exposure was more effective than structured schooling, but one thing's clear: immersion works. As you brush your teeth, you hum a tune you don't even realize is in English. Maybe it's Ed Sheeran, maybe it's a jingle. Either way, you're reinforcing pronunciation and rhythm while cleaning your molars. Multitasking king. You glance at your phone and notice a message from your friend. "Wanna meet later?" The spelling makes your inner grammar guardian twitch, but you shrug. It's conversational, casual, real. This isn't textbook English, it's survival English. The kind used by millions every day without ever conjugating a verb chart. And speaking of survival, have you ever tried saying Worcestershire sauce aloud at 7 a.m? You probably won't survive this. But hey, even native speakers struggle with that one. You start mentally planning your day, meetings, errands, dinner. But in the background, there's a new habit forming. You're translating thoughts, labeling things around you: window, pillow, charger, slippers. That's not just cute, that's neurological groundwork. Your brain's language center, Subroca's area and Wernicke's area, are lighting up like it's Black Friday. Meanwhile, you scroll through the news and see a headline: "Artificial intelligence surpasses human writers." You snort. "We'll see about that," you mutter in English. Again. That's your third spontaneous sentence this morning. Pat yourself on the back. Fun fact: the earliest known English alarm clock, created in the 15th century, could ring at any hour if you were rich enough to afford one. For everyone else, learning began with the sun. Kind of like your day now, minus the goats and medieval taxes. As you pour water into the kettle, you catch a glimpse of the label: "Boil safe, BPA-free." Caution: contents may be hot. No duh, but there it is, a functional English, warning you in a slightly passive-aggressive tone. Labels, instructions, microwave buttons, a broken bar, they're your underrated tutors. Now, the cheeky part: you rehearse a possible conversation in your head. Maybe you'll see your coworker later. "How was your weekend?" You practice. Then immediately panic. Wait, what if they ask me back? So you pre-plan a response: "It was good, thanks. Just relaxed." Look at you, casually preparing a dialogue like it's an undercover mission. Smooth. There's something beautiful about the awkwardness of learning, like when you first called a blanket a carpet or thought sick always meant illness and not awesome. These stumbles stick. They're mental post-its that shout, "Don't mess that up again." And did you know that during World War II, British and American troops would test if someone was truly native English by asking them to say Lollapalooza or serendipity? Weird, right? But the rhythm of these words was like a fingerprint. Historians still debate whether such tests actually worked or just made everyone sound ridiculous. You finally sip your coffee, burning your tongue because of course you did, and think, I really need to practice speaking more. But don't worry, you're doing more than you realize. Every subconscious repetition, every accidental translation, every cringe when someone misuses literally, these are battle scars of a growing English warrior. And as the caffeine kicks in and your day begins to stretch its limbs, so does your language muscle. You're not just surviving English, you're making it a habit, one sleepy shuffle at a time. You're still half caffeinated, but it's already begun the barrage of English that finds you whether you want it to or not. You head to the kitchen counter, juggling a spoon, a cup, and an existential crisis about whether oat milk makes you a hipster. As your coffee cools just enough to sip again, something familiar plays from the background. A podcast, a YouTube clip, some guy on TikTok ranting about why Mondays are the worst. Whatever it is, it's in English and your ears, still groggy, start tuning in. Not to the meaning, not yet, just the cadence, the ups and downs, the pause before a joke, the way the speaker draws out words like too oodily and seriously with mock enthusiasm. You smile. That, right there, is your daily English warm-up. Casual, unintentional, completely effective. You repeat a phrase under your breath. You gotta be kidding me. Your pronunciation's better than yesterday. Not perfect, there's a hint of your native rhythm in theory, but who cares? It sounds real. And the more you mimic native tone and stress patterns, the more natural you feel. Did you know that English has a stress-timed rhythm? Unlike many other languages, historians still argue whether that's why it feels so bouncy compared to syllable-timed languages like Spanish or Japanese. Whatever the case, your mouth is starting to catch the rhythm. You open a message from your friend, in English, morning, wanna grab lunch later? You sigh. Text speak. You've accepted that later is how humans communicate now, even if it makes you physically itchy. But here's the secret they're teaching you. Even emojis count. That smirking face, that means I'm teasing you. That skull emoji, that means I'm dying from laughter. Modern hieroglyphics. As you sit down for breakfast, maybe a slice of toast or just another coffee, no judgment, you put on an English podcast, something chill, maybe two friends chatting about their worst first dates. You nod along, not catching every word, but getting the gist. Context is a beautiful thing. You hear, so, I show up, right? And this guy's wearing a broken bar Crocs, on a date. Like, actual Crocs. You laugh before even you understanding why, because you got the vibe. You caught the sarcasm, and boom, a language comprehension beyond vocabulary. That's fluency in the making. You think about what you'll say to your coworker today. You're planning small talk, not because you love Ida but because it's your personal fluency training. You rehearse phrases in your head. Crazy weather lately, huh? Can you believe it's only Tuesday? I think my coffee's judging me this morning. They're not genius lines, but they're golden. Because small talk is where English lives. Not in essays, not in grammar worksheets, in passing comments about your soggy sandwich. Fun fact, in medieval England, breakfast wasn't even a thing. Eating in the morning was considered gluttonous. Only monks, children, or the sick had permission to munch before noon. Historians still argue if this was based on religious discipline or just a shortage of cornflakes. Either way, we've come a long way, and so has your morning English exposure. You pour another cup and hear a phrase on the podcast. Let's circle back to that later. You pause. That's a corporate buzzword. You jot it down in your mental notebook, or maybe your actual notebook. Because you're low-key a nerd about this now. Welcome to the club. Here's the weird part, you're not just learning words, you're learning tone. In English, saying yeah, right can mean 5 different things depending on your eyebrow position, or how long you drag the yeah. Seriously, try it in the mirror sometime. Warning, it gets addictive. You open the fridge, it's a wasteland. You mutter, ugh, I need to go shopping, and your brain adds, go shopping equals phrasal verb. You're becoming that person who notices grammar in daily speech. You used to hate that person. Now you are them. And here's something fringe. There's a theory that bilinguals dream more vividly in their second language. The idea? Your subconscious gets more playful when it's flexing foreign grammar. No hard proof yet, but if you start having arguments in English with your childhood math teacher inside a dream, you're officially leveling up. You check the time. Gotta go. As you grab your keys and slip into your shoes, you whisper a phrase from the podcast. It is what it is. You've heard it 100 times. Now you're starting to feel its weight. Not just the words but the resigned shrug it carries. That's the soul of English. A meaning lives in the mood. So you step outside. English is now riding shotgun. Whether you notice or not, it's in your earbuds, your inner monologue, your weather app. It's not homework anymore. It's how you start the day. And your second sip of coffee still burns your tongue. You step outside, and the morning air hits your face like a reminder that the world doesn't care if you slept weird or if your socks match. The streets already alive, motorbikes buzzing, distant honking, someone blasting a remix of a song you swear came out 10 years ago. You pull out your phone to check directions, but your brain is busy doing something else, narrating your walk in English. You don't mean to. It just happens. Okay. Left at the pharmacy, a broken bar, past the bakery, a broken bar. Wow, that guy's walking faster than a motivational quote. There I see your inner voice, now moonlighting as your private English tour guide. This kind of running commentary is magic. You're describing the world around you using the words you already know. That's fluency practice in disguise. Like tricking your brain into doing squats while walking, and no grammar worksheet in the world will give you the thrill of calling a traffic jam a parking lot with ambition. Somewhere between the sidewalk cracks and the click of your steps, you notice the shop signs. Sale, buy one get one, limited time only. Sure, it's all marketing fluff, but it's English, and you're decoding it instantly. That tiny supermarket you pass every day, the one with the sign that says fresh veggies today, you roll your eyes at the spelling, but you also clock the meaning without hesitation. That's growth. You didn't stop to think, what say veggies? You just knew. Funny enough, in 18th century London, signs often had both English and symbols because most of the public couldn't read. A shoe shop might have a boot painted on its door, a pub, a picture of a lion or a star. Historians still argue whether that made commerce more inclusive or just more chaotic. Either way, we've come a long way, and now you're the one reading the signs. As you pass a coffee shop, a poster catches your eye. Caffeine, because adulting is hard. You chuckle. That phrase adulting, it's not even real grammar. It's a made-up verb from the internet, and yet, you understand it perfectly. That's what English does. It invents words at 2 a.m. and dares you to keep up. You glance at your phone. Music time. You hit shuffle, and a song comes on. It's in English. Of course, you've heard it before. But now you're listening differently, not just to vibe but to learn. You start breaking down the lyrics. You said forever, now I drive alone past your street, a broken bar. You pause. Wow, that hit harder than expected. Language and emotions, tied in a bow. Welcome to the secret weapon of learning English. Sad pop songs. A quirky fact for your stroll: there's actual scientific research suggesting music helps language retention. The rhythm and melody act like glue for words. That's why you still remember the alphabet song from childhood, or the fact that if you're happy and you know it is forever etched in your bones. You catch yourself mouthing lyrics, even the awkward ones like I'm feeling 22. Taylor Swift wouldn't mind. You're reinforcing pronunciation, stress, and the fine art of mumbling through parts you don't understand. As you walk past a bookstore, you peek at a window display. Titles in English: Self-Help, How to Get Rich, The Subtle Art of Fabric Bar. You know the rest. Even if you haven't read them, you recognize the formats, the colors, the buzzwords. You spot Atomic Habits and think, should I read that in English? You absolutely should. It's not about understanding every word. It's about the repetition of ideas. Your brain learns best when it's annoyed, confused, then suddenly a click, it gets it. Remember that one time you thought bark only meant tree skin and not the sound a dog makes? Yeah, that little wait, what? Moment? That's gold. Your brain remembers struggle more than ease. It's a weird little masochist like that. You pause at a red light, glance at a delivery truck, and it says we deliver happiness. You smirk. Cheesy? Sure, but instantly clear. You wonder what that phrase would look like in your native language. Probably less dramatic. English loves to sell emotions like they're flavors of bubble tea. By now, you're narrating your walk again, Crossing the street now a broken bar. This crosswalk is basically Frogger a broken bar. Oh, that guy almost ran me over. Rude. You're not just speaking, you're practicing sarcasm in English. And that, friend, is advanced level. There's a theory that early English speakers way back when Old English was still getting comfy with Latino used humor and puns as a way to memorize vocabulary, not just because it was fun, but because it stuck. Historians still argue if that's why Shakespeare was so obsessed with wordplay or if he was just a dad joke machine born too soon. You finally reach your destination, maybe a train station, a bus stop, or your office building. The world around you is humming. People chatting, announcements in mangled English from the speakers, someone arguing loudly on the phone. You absorb it all. You don't even try. It's just happening. Your commute isn't dead time anymore. It's a language gym with bad lighting and surprise quizzes. And as the doors slide open or your bus rolls in, you step forward, slightly more fluent than you were 5 blocks ago. You step into the office or maybe a cafe. Copyright, a classroom, wherever your daily grind unfolds, and there it is. The universal ritual known as small talk. It greets you like a reluctant puppy, awkward, a little unpredictable, but impossible to avoid. Morning. How was your weekend? Ugh, this weather, right? These short exchanges are the spinach of language learning, annoyingly simple, often dismissed, but secretly packed with power. You nod, smile, maybe toss out a not too bad, thanks. And boom, you've just completed a fluency rep. Small talk is everywhere in English-speaking culture. It's the social handshake, the unspoken agreement that we're all humans muddling through a Monday. And sure, it feels silly sometimes, especially when both parties are just weather-complaining robots, but mastering it gives you access to the real world of English. Did you know that in the Victorian era, small talk was actually an art form? Polite society revolved around it. The weather, local events, the Queen's latest hottie. These weren't shallow topics. They were linguistic battlegrounds, where vocabulary, tone, and manners collided. Historians still argue whether it was genuine communication or just elegant noise. You settle in, maybe start your computer, and notice someone walking by. You brace for another round. Busy day ahead? You nod, reply, always, with a forced chuckle. Boom again. You're speaking real English, not textbook robot speak. You're reacting, matching tone, reading body language. That's next level stuff. And here's a quirky truth. English small talk isn't really about content. It's about comfort. About showing, hey, I'm approachable. I won't throw soup at you in the break room. The words barely matter, it's how you deliver them. You remember your first attempt. Maybe you said how do you do? Like you were in a Sherlock Holmes novel, and someone stared at you like you just stepped out of a time portal. Classic. Those moments burn, but they teach. You never use that phrase again. A lesson learned. Someone passes with a coffee in hand and says, "Don't talk to me till I've had my caffeine." You laugh, even though you've heard it 1,000 times. That's the thing about cliché copyright, so they're comforting, like verbal background music. You start to collect them, slotting each into the right moment. Can't complain. Hanging in there, living the dream. Often said with dead eyes. Each phrase is a code, and you're slowly becoming fluent in the subtext. And then there's the jokey, usually bad, often pun-based, occasionally inappropriate. Someone says, "Why did the Scarecrow win an award?" "Because he was outstanding in his field." You groan. You want to boo, but you remember it. Why? Because language loves a pun. Your brain remembers rhythm and punchlines. There's a theory that the English language evolved its love for irony and understatement as a survival tool. When things were bleak, humor kept people sane. Oh look, the castle's on fire. Typical Monday. Historians still argue whether this dry humor is more cultural or linguistic, but one thing's certain, it's infectious. You head into a meeting or maybe just scroll through work emails and notice how casual English can be. Subject lines like quick update or touching base or the dreaded just circling back a broken bar. These are softeners. Language armor. They let you ask for something without sounding pushy. You try replying, "Thanks for the heads up. Sounds good. I'll take a look. There's no grammar lesson here, just repetition. Phrases like these get burned into your muscle memory faster than any worksheet ever could. Here's something oddly poetic. The word small talk dates back to the 18th century and was used to describe pleasant, inconsequential chatter. But for you, it's massive. It's your doorway to belonging. You step into the break room. The coffee machine is judging you, sputtering like a tired dragon. Someone's microwaving fish, again a why? Comma, and there's laughter from the corner. You pick up snippets. You won't believe what she's the broken bar. No way. That's wild. I told him straight up, hey, not my circus, not my monkeys. Wait, what? Monkeys? You Google it. Turns out, not my circus, not my monkeys is a Polish proverb adopted by English speakers. It means, not my problem. Another gem for your mental dictionary. You think back to your first job interview in English, how every small talk question felt like a test. So, tell me about yourself. Do you like working in teams? You thought they wanted facts. Nope. They wanted comfort, confidence, the ability to make eye contact and not melt into the floor. And yet, you survived, maybe even nailed it. Because at the core of small talk is connection, and language, above all, is about connecting. You check your watch. The day's just getting started. But your English practice is already miles deep. No flashcards, no textbooks, just people, words, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing you're getting better, one awkward chuckle at a time. You're back at your desk, or maybe leaning over a cafe tilde copyright table, phone in one hand and a half-eaten muffin in the other, staring into the abyss of your inbox. Emails, dozens of them, some important, most not. And all in English. You open the first one. It begins, "Hi, your name, hope this finds you well." A broken bar. You smile. There it is, the global anthem of English email culture. Hope this finds you well. No one really knows what it means. No one really cares. But it's polite, safe, and vague enough to make you wonder, what if it doesn't find me well? Still, you reply, "Hi, their name. Thanks for reaching out." Another autopilot phrase, but don't underestimate it. Phrases like these are invisible armor in the battlefield of workplace English. They smooth over awkwardness, avoid direct conflict, and wrap your intentions in warm corporate fuzz. In fact, British English is particularly notorious for being passive-aggressive. Historians still argue whether this stems from colonial diplomacy or just a national addiction to avoiding direct eye contact. Either way, the phrase "just a gentle reminder." A broken bar can either mean no rush or "why haven't you done this yet?" Depending entirely on punctuation and vibes. You glance at another email that reads, "Let's touch base soon." Touch base sounds weird if you picture it literally, but it means, we need to talk. English is full of these baseball metaphors. You've also heard, step up to the plate, out of left field, hit it out of the park. A broken bar, even if you've never watched a baseball game in your life. Language doesn't ask your permission to be weird, it just is. You start drafting your own reply. You stare at the blinking cursor, wondering how formal to be. You type and delete "Dear Sir" or "Madam" because you're not a time traveler. You settle on, "Hi Tom, just looping you in." A broken bar. Looping you in. That's another odd phrase. Is this a heist? Are you creating a circle of trust? No, adjusting someone. But again, this is functional fluency. You're not just using English, you're navigating it. Choosing tone, tweaking the mood, building relationships, all with a few carefully chosen keystrokes. You remember your first formal email in English. Maybe you overused "please" like it was seasoning. "Please see attached." "Please let me know." "Please advise." It read more like a beggar's scroll than a confident message. But that's okay. You learned. You adapted. A quirky fact. In 1993, an email titled "Make Money Fast" became one of the first spam messages to go viral. It was so infamous it helped spark anti-spam laws. So yes, spam has a legacy, and you're now dodging subject lines that say "urgent," "final notice." Like a pro, you open a message from your manager. It's filled with classic middle management phrases like, "circle back," "low-hanging fruit," "moving forward," "bandwidth," which now means time, not internet speed. You roll your eyes but understand every word. And that, dear friend, is fluency in corporate survival. You hit reply and write, "Thanks for the update. I'll get back to you by odd." Odd equals end of day. Another acronym you didn't ask for but had to learn like ASAP, FYI, or ETA. And here's the kicker. You're not just surviving this digital jungle, you're thriving. You know when to add an exclamation point to seem friendly, but not too many. When to drop "let me know your thoughts," and when to bold a deadline without sounding like a dictator. That balance, that tone control, that's English artistry. Did you know that the earliest surviving English letter dates back to around 1400 and was found in a dung heap in London? It was written by a woman named Margaret Paston, full of complaints about her land and neighbors. Historians still argue whether it was the first passive-aggressive email in history, but it proves one thing. People have been using written English to express frustration for centuries. You finish your last email, click send, and sit back with a small sigh. You didn't just write messages, you navigated mood, culture, tone, and expectations, all in a foreign language. If that's not impressive, nothing is. Your phone buzzes with a reply. Thanks. Appreciate the quick response. You smile, a job well done, in the invisible battlefield of digital communication. And just like that, your inbox becomes a classroom. Every subject line a teacher, every CC coworker a potential pronunciation puzzle. You're learning again without even trying. Lunch break. Finally, you stretch, roll your shoulders, and consider your options. Go out, order in, just snack on a questionable banana that's been living in your bag since Monday. Whatever you choose, it's not really about the food anymore. This is your golden hour for stealth listening practice. You grab your earphone as your secret weapons and slide them in like a spy on a mission. Within seconds, you're immersed in conversation, not your own, but someone else's. A podcast, a YouTube interview, or maybe just two friends chatting about the latest celebrity scandal. Doesn't matter. You're listening with intent now, and you've come a long way. Back when you started, native English felt like machine gun fire. All connected, no spaces. Wazoo foi autuingal, right? Now, you're picking up individual words, phrases, attitude. You even catch sarcasm when someone says, "Oh great, another Monday." You sit with your meal, eyes on your food, but ears wide open. This is passive learning at its finest. And your brain? It's doing 1,000 things, matching sound to meaning, predicting what comes next, decoding slang like it's solving a mystery novel. Across the room or through the window you hear someone speaking English. Not from your headphones this time. Real humans, real conversation. You lean in slightly, pretending to check your phone, but you're eavesdropping like a linguist with a mission. Two tourists are chatting. "So I told him, dude, that's not how guacamole works." You pause mid-bite. "Dude, that's not how thing works." You've heard that phrase 100 times on sitcoms, but now it's happening in real life. And your brain lights up. Fun fact, dude was originally a term in the 1800s for a man overly obsessed with fashion. Over time, it evolved into what it is today, a universal bro-code greeting. Historians still argue whether the original dudes would approve of surfer slang stealing their thunder. You chuckle. That's another phrase in the vault now. You switch to a different podcast. This one's about food culture in different countries. You catch these phrases. It's got that umami flavor. Street food is the heartbeat of any city. When in doubt, go for carbs. You don't know every word. Maybe umami is still a bit fuzzy, but the context helps. You imagine the speaker gesturing over a steaming bowl of something delicious, using words like texture, savoriness, and mouthfeel. Even without a dictionary, your imagination fills in the blanks. You remember a time when you would have paused, Googled every unknown word, and turned lunch into a research session. Now, you let something slide. You're learning to tolerate ambiguity, and that's a superpower in language learning. There's a quirky theory that children learn language faster because they're not obsessed with understanding everything. They guess, they experiment, they fail, laugh, and move on. Historians still argue whether adults could replicate this if they just stopped worrying about sounding correct. You're starting to believe it. You take another bite. The food's alright, but honestly, the English is the best part of this lunch. A phrase pops into your head from the podcast: food is a language, too. You chew on that, and not just the lettuce, the metaphor. Then, over at a nearby table, someone says, "She literally ghosted me." Boom. Another idiom. You smile. Ghosted equals disappeared, ignored, vanished from the digital world without a trace. Literally equals probably used incorrectly, but hey, that's modern English. You think, this lunch is basically a language lab in disguise. There's no whiteboard, no grammar quiz, just people, voices, real English unfolding around you like a play you've been cast in. As your break winds down, you glance at your phone. Messages waiting. One in English. A friend asks, "How's your English coming along?" You type back, without thinking, "Better than expected. I even eavesdrop for practice now." They reply with a laughing emoji. You smile, finish your food, and pull out your earbuds. The world slips back into its usual volume. But your brain, still echoing with phrases, rhythms, and the lazy vowels of lunchtime slang. You toss your trash, dust off your hands, and walk out, and not just full, but fluently fed. The post-lunch slump hits like a fluffy brick. You stare at your screen, your eyes glassy, your willpower slipping into low battery mode. If someone asked you to solve a basic math problem right now, you'd fake a phone call and walk away. But instead of doom scrolling or napping under your desk, tempting, you reach for something better: your English boost. A short video, a new podcast, maybe even an English YouTuber ranting about why cats secretly rule the world. You don't care about the topic. You care about the rhythm, the words, buzzing of real speech. Because here's the secret: even when your brain is tired, it can still soak in language like a lazy sponge. In fact, your reception mode is often strongest when you're too tired to analyze. That's when you start to absorb tone, emotion, and cadencia like background music for your fluency. You play a short podcast episode called something ridiculous like "Why Bread is the Ultimate Life Coach." You chew,